We have been traveling now for a year. We left back in September 2021, ultimately with the goal of finding a location where we could see ourselves settling down longer term.
Now that's still the idea, but the more we moved around, the more we realized we want to continue to travel around the world.
Right.
Find that spot, but let's take our time doing it.
Now we tried briefly a stretch of moving a lot quicker. So we moved 8 times in 2 months instead of our typical slow travel of staying a month in each location. We quickly realized that's not for us.
It's not gonna work.
No. We saw a lot and it was worth it, but in the long run, it just wouldn't work long term.
Yeah, behind the scenes, there's a lot that goes on for us to do that. And that's just not what we're up for doing right now.
Yeah. So one thing that didn't change in the time that we've been traveling is what we're looking for in the destinations that we're traveling to. In this past year, we traveled to 8 different countries. And so we're going to go over each of those countries and the locations that we went to and kind of just go over some of the things that we liked and disliked about each spot.
Yeah, and stay until the end because we are going to let you know what our top 3 locations might be.
So the first country we found ourselves in was Spain, and we picked Valencia as a starting point. We really loved Valencia.
Yeah, it was a great choice to start our world tour. Yeah, we loved Valencia. It was very clean, very easy to navigate. The bus system was phenomenal. It had a great, huge beach.
Yeah. Not very close to the city center.
Yeah.
That was one of kind of, I would say probably more on the negative side for us, is it took about a half an hour to 45 minutes to get to the beach. And we're just ones that we would rather pack our bag and just walk down to the beach, not have to catch a bus and stuff. So that was kind of a downside. We did find though that we got a bit bored after 2 weeks of being there. We think part of that though, looking back, didn't necessarily have to do with the city of Valencia, because there's obviously plenty to do in Valencia, but we were just hitting the road. We were excited. We wanted to, we wanted to see things. And so we were kind of ready to go again. Now we see things a little bit differently. We would have relaxed a little more.
Yeah, just relax.
One thing we found in Valencia, which kind of caught us up by surprise, the best way to put it is we felt like they weren't very welcoming. They were quite unfriendly. Yeah. We found ourselves, as a good example is just to go in and get something in a store. Sometimes you just avoided going into that store because it was uncomfortable.
Yeah, Spain, they're overwhelmed with tourists, and we understand that and we get that and respect that. But we did get more negative comments on this channel from Valencia than any other place we've been. So for what it's worth. Next stop, just a short train ride from Valencia, was Alicante, and we loved Alicante. Yeah. Had everything we were looking for.
It did. Right out the gate, we knew we were absolutely going to love our time there. We were there for a month, and honestly, at the end, we weren't ready to leave. We really loved it. Alicante the beach was fantastic. It was very much kind of that beach feel community. You had the marina with a gorgeous promenade walking area. Yeah.
Had everything we wanted.
It had everything we wanted.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It also had accessibility to some great day trips. The tram for us, where we were staying, was maybe a 2-minute walk. So, yeah.
We love the tram.
We love the tram, and it was incredibly affordable for those little day trips. So, highly recommend Alicante. Our next stop was Sevilla. And Sevilla surprised me how much I absolutely loved, because we were a little concerned because we were going from a beach location to inland. We absolutely love Sevilla, and honestly, it was the first location that we went to that made us really change kind of the path that we were on of just maybe looking for that place to settle down, realizing we want to see all these places that we don't necessarily see as places that we would settle long term, but we wanted to
before we went there, we knew we didn't want to live there, but we knew we wanted to see it.
Yeah.
And we weren't wrong. We loved Sevilla. The history, everything about it blew us away. So that's kind of what we started to evolve, I guess I should say.
Yes. They have an amazing shopping district. The buildings are so beautiful. The town itself, one of the things that was so cool was that for a month that we were there, it seemed like every day that we went out and we went walking that you were seeing something new, which is surprising when you're there for that long to have that happen. But even all of their attractions and things like that it was a very walkable city. You could get every place on foot.
So now we were there in the wintertime. We were there from late November through mid-December, and the weather was great most of the time. Now it did get a little bit chilly to where we each had to buy a coat because we didn't pack coats. So we did have to put a jacket on, but in the summertime, it's way too hot.
It gets way too hot, and we were told that by so many viewers right away. So you might want to think about that.
Yeah, spring or fall or winter. Now at this point, we had to get out of the Schengen area because we'd spent our 90 days in Spain. So we had to go someplace kind of off the beaten path.
And more affordable.
Yeah. So we ended up in Montenegro, and it wasn't something that we had really anticipated going into our adventure, but it's someplace we're really, really glad we did.
So happy that happened, that we ended up there. First place that we stopped in Montenegro was Kotor. Absolutely love Kotor. We were there at a perfect time. We had been really busy in Spain, and so we stayed for a month in this great Airbnb that was overlooking the bay. Fantastic view to wake up to each morning because it was December and it was chilly. And so we weren't out and about every day. So it is a great place to be in the winter or summer. But the thing, in the wintertime, it is going to be more closed down. It's a small town. And then in the summertime, it's also a cruise ship port. So you are going to have a lot of busyness coming in. So it's kind of a toss-up.
Now by now we had kind of learned to slow down a little bit and take a few days off here and there.
Yeah.
So for us, it wasn't that bad.
We enjoyed it.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
It was over Christmas, and it was just, it was a nice quiet time.
From there, we moved on to Budva, Montenegro, which is only about 20 minutes
Not far.
down the road.
Our easiest travel day.
Easiest travel day we've had so far, right on the coast. Again, we were there in the winter time, so the weather was fair. We would say we thought it was pretty nice.
Compared to being where we were from, it was actually really nice because the sun was shining most days.
Most days the sun was shining.
No, it might be cold, but no.
So it is still closed down in the wintertime. So there was a little bit of that boredom did set in.
Boredom definitely set in. It's considered a beach town. It's a kind of a resort vacation area. So it was very shut down. COVID took a play in that as well, I'm sure. But we actually ended up checking out of Budva a little bit early because we did get a little bored.
Now, we have to be somewhere in the wintertime, so you may as well be in a beach town.
The next place we found ourselves was in Albania. Once again, a place that probably wasn't on our list of places to go, but it was a nice, maybe 3-hour bus ride from Budva, Montenegro, and so we went that direction. Plus, it was moving us a little bit more south, so maybe closer to warmer.
Try and chase the sun a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
So we ended up in Tirana, was our first stop, and we were only going to be there for 5 days, and we really didn't know what to expect. Well, we got a lot more than we bargained for.
We did.
The food was...
It blew us away. Yeah.
So you could get a great meal for $7 or $8 US. And that included a beverage, usually a beer. But there was a nice restaurant every block.
There was like numerous restaurants every block. We were just, I don't know, that was a lot of fun for us because Tirana was kind of like a vacation in a sense for us because we were eating each meal out. We were only there for a week. Like I said, the food scene was fantastic. The costs really were affordable. So we just got to enjoy everything a little bit more.
And very interesting history. And it's recent history, and it's not all good history, but it is very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, we had a great time.
We did. One of the things that, out of all the places that we mentioned so far, this was the first place that we went that the people were incredibly kind and they went out of their way to help you. That just kind of surprised us because we hadn't had that yet.
We hadn't had that at all. Right.
The next place we found ourselves was Saranda. It was supposed to be a 3-hour bus ride from Tirana. It ended up taking about 5.
It's about 5 hours.
The transportation system in Albania is not the best. It's still kind of something in the works, so just kind of keep that in mind. But Saranda, we had one of the most beautiful views that we've had in an Airbnb so far. We only paid maybe $500 for the month in our place. Right. It was fantastic. We really liked Saranda.
Yeah, no, we had a great time. The boardwalk, the water, everything about it. Now, if you could have gotten out of the Schengen, which we couldn't, you could take a ferry over to Corfu, Greece for the day if you'd like. There was a lot to do there. Even in the wintertime, we did find things to do.
Yeah. There there were things to do. The one thing I would say is that it's definitely a much more rundown area. That would just be kind of Albania in general.
Yeah.
It definitely is more up and coming. There's just still a lot of work to do. One of the areas that we probably had the most struggle in Albania was the grocery stores. That was tough. It made for a very long month. Fortunately, in Saranda, we ate out as well. Not as much. We tried to cook in because we do enjoy doing that. But going to the grocery stores was almost a little depressing because
It was a challenge.
Yeah, it was a challenge. And it wasn't just the grocery stores. It was also their produce markets and their butcher and stuff. So, so just be aware.
There go the nice comments.
The other thing in Saranda that I found was if you are liking to feel like you are near an airport to be able to, say there was an emergency or something, you need to be able to get home. I felt a bit isolated in Saranda.
Yeah, the nearest airport would be Tirana, which is 5 hours away. Now again, you can jump on the ferry and go over to Corfu and use that airport only if you're allowed to get into Greece.
Yeah, and at that point we weren't because we hadn't been out of Schengen for 90 days. So we would have had to get back to Tirana. So I don't like that isolated feeling. So that was definitely not checking a box for us.
So by now we've spent our 90 days outside of the Schengen and we can move on to Greece. Now Greece is not in our budget. It's not someplace we would have gone normally, but we'd saved money in Montenegro and Albania because we had a pretty good idea Greece would be our next stop. It was an easy flight from Corfu over to Santorini, and that was a month that I think goes down the books.
Yeah. We absolutely love Santorini. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a great place to be for a month, honestly, because we could just relax and be there. Majority of people who go to Santorini are typically they're getting off a cruise ship and they're there for the day. There's so much you're going to miss if you do that. So I definitely recommend at least going there for a few days and exploring the whole island, which we had the opportunity to do.
And we were there in the off season, so our Airbnb was less expensive than it would be in the on-season, obviously.
Yeah, it was maybe a third of the cost.
And that Airbnb was something else.
Yeah, we had it was a 2-bedroom. We had a lot of room, which when you're there in the wintertime, that's nice because you are inside a lot more.
Yeah, so. it had 4 decks.
Yeah.
So it was all decked out.
I heard about that all the time from him. Yeah.
That's a good job.
The other thing that really surprised us about Santorini was we had prepared ourselves because everybody tells you how expensive Santorini is. So we knew that we don't eat out much, so that's not a big deal. But even for groceries, we had very much highly prepared for maybe having double the cost for groceries. We got there and we were absolutely shocked that it was less expensive than we were paying for groceries in Albania or in Montenegro or even Spain.
Yeah, so and they were nice grocery stores too.
It was the first grocery store that we had gone to that reminded us very much of being at home in the U.S. So a couple negatives that we would say about Santorini. I know hard to believe because it's Santorini, but one of the things is obviously in the on-season, which is actually a really good portion of the year, the cruise ships are coming in and it is busy. Yeah. It can just be kind of a miserable place to be and to get around. You don't get to enjoy the town so much. The other thing was it's windy.
Yeah.
It's very windy. And that got old.
It blew us away, honestly.
No joke. But it got old after a couple weeks. Now it was time to go home, so we went back to the States for just about 3 weeks and visited family, and that was the moment that we realized that 3 weeks at home, which when we first started this was going to be, we'll be ready to go and get back on the road. And those 3 weeks went by faster than any 3 weeks in my entire life. So going forward, we'll spend a little bit more time at home. So, and then when we left the States, we now head to Portugal. And we were really excited to go back to Portugal because we had visited the Algarve before on vacation, but we had only gone for 3 days.
Yeah, so we knew we would love it. We visited the first time we went the west side, and we'd heard so much about the east side, we decided to start there. And we started in Cabanas.
We absolutely loved Cabanas. It is right near Tavira, and there was just a lot that you could go and see and do from that location. We were able to go to Montenegro. We were able, like I said, Tavira is right there. We also went to Villarreal, and one of the cool things in Villarreal was there's a foot ferry that takes you over to Spain. So you kind of got to just hop over and enjoy some tapas for the day.
So we loved that area of the Algarve, but our month there was over.
Yes.
So then we had to move west. We didn't have to. We wanted to move west to Lagos.
Yeah. Any of the areas that we would travel and venture around there as well, they were busier areas, like Albufeira.
There's just a lot more to do on the west end of the Algarve.
There's a lot more to do, and it's definitely, I think, it's the area that people, when they're looking for someplace to go on vacation in the Algarve, they tend to be more the west end.
Correct.
So if you're maybe going to live, you're going to be on the east end.
That'd be our preference. Yeah.
One of the big draws to the Algarve, two of the big draws. Number one, I would probably say climate.
The climate, yeah.
The climate year round there is just it doesn't get too hot and it doesn't get too cold. Right. So it's really kind of ideal. The other thing is the beaches. Absolutely gorgeous beaches.
And not just those two things, but your lifestyle as far as your grocery stores, your health care, and just the entertainment value of being down there.
Right. And the people.
Yeah.
We honestly found it very welcoming. For us, once again, I mean, we don't expect people to speak English, but it was nice because there's a lot of English spoken in that area. Yeah. Not just from the people as far as if you're going into a restaurant or bar or grocery store or anything like that, but just the other people that are visiting there.
So again, our 90 days in the Schengen is over, so we've got to move on, we've got to move out. That brought us to Romania, and it was quite unexpected.
It really was. Yeah. We knew we wanted to see Romania, and we knew we wanted to visit, but we were caught off guard at how much we loved it. So we spent 2 months in Romania, and this was where we changed from our slow travel style to fast travel, or what we see as fast travel. We visited 8 different locations in Romania in 2 months. Right. We started in Bucharest, and we moved to Brașov, went to Sighișoara, went to Sibiu, Alba Iulia, Cluj, Oradea, and then Timisoara.
Yeah.
And some of those places we stayed, just 2 of them we stayed for 2 weeks, and the rest we were moving quicker.
Yeah. And the reason why we did that is because we weren't finding much of a price break in our Airbnbs if we stayed for a month or if we just stayed for a couple days, because of the summer season.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to do it that way.
And I also think originally we had this idea that, well, when are we ever going to find ourselves back in Romania? So let's see as much of it that we can.
Right.
And after leaving there, we were like, well, we're definitely coming back.
We're coming back, yeah.
So we didn't have to rush through and see everything, but we are glad that we saw it all.
Absolutely. So what is it we like so much about Romania? Well, the people. We had people messaging us and telling us where to go and what to see and what to eat and where to eat. So that was a lot of fun to interact with everybody the way we were able to do. The countryside, the food.
The food was fantastic. Yeah. And back a little bit to the people. It was the first place we had been where they were so happy we were there, and we get the fact that like we have a camera, we're putting things onto the internet and everything, but they were excited that we were there and showing their country in this in a great light, because that's how we were seeing it, honestly. So it was really fun to have that interaction with so many different people.
Now the craft beer scene in Romania was the best we've seen since we've left home. It was fantastic, and I really had no idea that it was this good when we entered Romania.
Right.
So it was a pleasant surprise.
It was, yeah. From the moment that we got to Bucharest and we started seeing the craft beer locations, and then, you can see the locations, then you go try it, and
pretty good beer.
It may not be good, but we were surprised. It was fantastic. So at that point, we were very excited that we were going to be there for 2 months to be able to enjoy all the different locations. So also the transportation in Romania is a little hit and miss. We had heads up from people that live there to just kind of be aware of different things about the transportation system. So we knew that, but it was the train system, it works, and it was on time, we found. We preferred the buses over the trains because the trains aren't air conditioned. Right. They got us from point A to point B, and they were incredibly affordable. So it works.
It works.
So that pretty much wrapped up our 1 year of travels to this point. And now we're going to kind of go over like what would be our top 3 places that we would go to or return back to.
And why.
And why.
Yeah. Everybody wants to go to Spain. Spain is just on everybody's list. And on our list, we do want to go back to Spain.
Spain would be number 3.
It's number 3 on our list, which might surprise some people, but we do want to get to the southern coast, and we want to get up north as well.
Yeah.
So Spain comes in at number 3.
The number 2 place for us, which probably won't be any surprise either, is Romania. We definitely know we are going to return to Romania. We had so many viewers recommend that we see the northeastern side, get to the coast. We just didn't have time to do that, honestly. So to be able to fully see Romania and see all the areas,
We'll get back. We'll probably rent a car when we do come back. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the video. Romania is probably not a place that we would stop for 6 months at a time or retire to, but it is definitely a place that we want to come back and explore more.
Definitely. And I highly doubt this will be any surprise to anybody. Our number 1 location is the Algarve, Portugal.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just, we loved it when we visited for 3 days. We absolutely loved it when we went back for 2 months. We can definitely see ourselves either settling there a little bit longer term, or probably more likely that we would settle there and come there for the winter months.
Yeah, we'd extend that visa.
Yeah.
And we'd stay for 3, 4, 5 months at a time.
Yeah. So, and also we would like to go explore Portugal more. Once again, like, we did come and travel to Portugal just for a trip, but we would like to go spend more time. We loved Porto when we were there for a week as well. So seeing more of that, and then also make our way to Madeira, the island, and spend some time, because we've heard some fantastic things about that. So Portugal is number 1.
So that is our first year in review. Now, since September, we have traveled to Belgrade, Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, we went to Sarajevo and Mostar, and we also ended up in Croatia.
So what do we have planned for the next year? So in 2023, we are going to be heading home for a visit, and then after the holidays, we are heading to Southeast Asia, which we're super excited for, because a whole different culture.
Yeah, now we've always wanted to go to Southeast Asia, but we were afraid to because of the chaotic nature of traveling through Southeast Asia. But now we're so much more experienced.
Such experienced travelers now after a year.
We're ready to go, so we're excited.
After that, we'll be coming home again for a brief visit, and then we're thinking probably head to Mexico or to Central America. Yeah. So that's just kind of what we have coming up. If you have any suggestions of other places we should go see, or where you'd like to see, definitely put those in the comments below. And all the places that we listed here today, obviously we have videos on. A lot of them is a full series for the country that we were in. Definitely check those out. If you haven't watched this video, watch that one now. Cheers. Cheers.